Hello, welcome to our next office hours for the MCIA certification. Yesterday, I just wanted to get a recording out here in regards to what happened yesterday, where Java was not installed for our servers to run. So I have to admit, I've been so used to using the pre-built virtual machines for classes that I overlooked having Java installed on this VM that I was working on. So what you saw in yesterday's video is I transitioned over to my desktop instead of using the virtual machine. And I already had it installed there. So to speed things up. But at any rate, if you're setting up a virtual machine, I wanted to give you an idea of what I needed to do to make sure that Java would be able to be utilized by the servers. And it started with installing the Java JDK. Okay. If you use the MSI, once it downloads and you click it, it's like an installation package that'll work for you. Or you can use the zip file. And that's what I did originally, was use the zip file. And then what you need to do once it's downloaded and unzipped is to go down into the bin folder. Okay, so it's going to reside in programs, Eclipse, Optimum, the JDK, and then go into the bin folder here. And there's an executable. There's a Java application. So you'll right click and run that as an administrator, and then it will install Java for you. The other thing that had to be done after that was to go into the environment variables. Okay, so then after this was completed, went into the environment variables here and also needed to set the Java home, had to add the Java home. So to do that, I clicked on new. I'm just bringing up edit because it's already there, and create the Java home, and then also the path of where Java is, where it's installed. And then also in the path of the system variables, the second thing to do was also to add, so this was another new one. I went to new and I added the Java home /bin, and it needs to be at the top of the list. So all of this is part of setup. We used to do it all the time in Studio. It'd been a while since I'd done it, but also, I just wanted to capture it as part of this video going into today. So yesterday we did, so once this is done, then when you go to your servers, they will spin up, and no problem there. So once that is completed, then you should be able to go into your servers, go into bin, and go ahead and run this. I may have Studio running. Let me double check here. Yep. Okay, I've got Studio running, so I want to go ahead and stop this from running. I was testing it out, and now I'm ready to type in Mule, and this should run fine. Okay, and then I'm going to also go to my other server, and I'm going to get that one running as well. So we're up and running. Oh, not that one. Doot. Doot. Come on over. There you go. And I'm going to get server 2 up and running. Okay, so here's server 2. Server 1 on the left, server 2 on the right. Okay, it will be up and running. We deployed an application to this environment also yesterday. I went ahead and did that as well. So I also have, just like you left yours. Oh, no, I didn't. Whoops. So this needs to be deployed. Thought I did that. Oh, well, I will need to deploy the application into server 2. That's what we were looking at. is I had it in another environment because I tested it out to make sure everything was good. But at any rate, I'm going to do that real quick once this server is all the way up. I'll go ahead and deploy that. So that was the other piece we did is we exported this application. And so I'm going to export this real quickly to my downloads and go ahead and export this. Again, remember you want to make sure that it is a deployable archive to where it's you want to include the project modules and dependencies. Click finish. Then I've got my jar file. I can take my jar file and I can install that from Runtime Manager. So that's going to be the next thing that I do. There it is. It's in my download folders here. Everything's behaving so far today. Yay. It wasn't yesterday. So I'll go to Runtime Manager, deploy the application, and in here I'll go dev. Well, actually, I'm deploying to my server. So I want to come down here to node 2. There we go, node 2. And let's call this dev. Let me grab the name of it. 1 second. So it's the dev MCIA study. Okay. And I'm going to go choose the file now, and I'll upload it from where I had just exported it. Boom. There we go. And now it's deploying. Okay. So we did this yesterday. I'm just kind of reviewing it a little bit and adding it to my server because I didn't have it on my server. So once this has deployed, we should be able to see some activity on that server. Okay. Watch for it here. There is a delay updating. Oh, okay. Allow access. You can see that the application has started. And I'm going to go ahead and send in the request. And it came back. And this one is the one that was deployed to the server. Okay. So I'm going to pause the recording while everybody's coming in. Let me go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so picking up where we left off is to talk about what we're going to do today, which is set up our Mule domain. And we want to look at the global elements that are in applications. So we can see here we have the patient record application. It is a system API. We see here we have the patient billing application, and it is a process API. Okay. So each of them has their own unique set of global configuration elements. Okay, like this one, there is a environment, there is the configuration properties, a listener, a database config, and that is unique for this system API, for the patient records web service. Now, the process API that has for the patient billing, it has global elements that are unique to its configuration. So there is Salesforce config here, JMS, VM, again, a listener. So they both commonly have a listener configuration, but they never share them. Okay, you cannot share these global elements from one application to another. Okay, and unless you have what we're calling a Mule domain. And what happens is all of those global elements are going to go in this Mule domain. And then the applications that are on the server, and this is only in customer hosted environments only. You cannot do this in Cloud Hub. So if you see a question on the exam about that, don't fall for it. Okay. You must have, this must be on a customer hosted server environment, and they will share those global elements. And that's what we're going to do now. We're going to create this. Okay. Or if you're in observation mode, I know some of you are in a meeting. If you're in observation mode, completely understand. All right, so let me go ahead and take this down. This doesn't need to be running. Trying to minimize my resources. My computer scared me a little bit yesterday when it started misbehaving, because this is my livelihood. You guys know I teach off of this. It can't misbehave. No, not going to happen. All right. So, all right, so let's stop both of our servers. That's the first thing we're going to do. If yours were running, you may not. I did run mine because I captured that part of the video. So again, click in the command prompt window and do Control-C. That's going to stop it. It'll come up with the terminate batch job, say Y for yes. And then also in node 2, I'm going to go ahead and click in that one. Control, yep, oh, come on. And yeah, it stopped it. Okay. All right, so both servers are now stopped. I'm going to shut node 2 completely down for right now, because we're not going to use node 2 for the Mule domain. We're going to use node 1 for the Mule domain. Okay. So keeping that up, we're going to go into Studio. All right, so go into Studio. Let me bring this full screen. And your project might be there from before. We can go ahead and close that for right now. Okay, let's go ahead and close it for right now. So we're not going to be using it. And we want to create, we're going to go up at the file in the upper left of Studio, click on File, and we're going to click on New, but this time you're going to come down to where it says Mule Domain Project. Okay, come down to Mule Domain Project and go ahead and click on that. And this opens up where we're going to give it a domain project name. All right. And we'll just go ahead and call it MCIA-domain. Okay, MCIA, MuleSoft Certified Integration Architect. Just keep it simple. MCIA domain. All right, and when we get done here, again, you have the opportunity to choose the runtime. That is correct for our runtime. And the project location, that is absolutely fine for it to be where it resides. It's the default location. And we'll click on Finish. And perform an update. That concerns me a little bit when that happens on a new version of Studio. Click OK. And now it's kind of going to look like an application in a way, but there's not going to be any of the flow options. Notice we have global elements and we have configuration XML, but we don't have that flow view that we normally have with Studio, right? Or with a regular application. The message flow here, this is another version of Studio I've got running. And you can see, notice that this Mule domain only has the global elements, and the configuration XML does not have a message flow. Interesting, huh? All right. So, let me see, coming on down here. Okay. Okay, so now we're ready to come in here, and we need to do a configuration for this. to bring in the HTTP listener configuration, because look, there's nothing in our palette. So we can't just say, I want to go ahead and create an HTTP listener global configuration here. We've got to actually bring it into the domain and configure this. So we're going to select the, let's see. There we go. We're going to, yeah, okay. We're going to go ahead and click on any of these. It won't matter. We could actually even right click and come down to right click on the XML. That's fine. That will work. It'll actually work if we select the name of the project also. And we're going to come down to, so what I did basically is just click on the configuration file here, right click, and I'm going to come down to manage dependencies, and I'm going to go down to manage modules. Okay. Manage modules. And in here, we want to click on the green plus. Okay, click on the green plus. And we're going to add a module from Exchange. Add a module from Exchange. Okay, now one thing I haven't done in this account, you may have done this already. I have not added my credentials here. So I need to go ahead and click on Add Account and get my credentials for this one. And let me grab my password for this one. I think I know it. I don't know it. There we go. I do know it. Hey, Ethan, welcome. Welcome, welcome. We're just starting on the Mule Domain. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I have a caper lined up to try to get my van out of my building. So
Oh,
I need to get the key from the gate company, and then my friend has a press pass because she's a press photographer. But there's
okay. Recording's on. The question was asked for how to get Java to be recognized on a Mac. And go ahead, Ethan.
right. So I need to look it up, but there's something special about Macs. So you can install, well, there's a couple ways to do it. You can do brew, install, Java, the version, but just because you install an extra JDK, it's not necessarily, well, it's not going to be the default for sure, but then you have to locate it, and then it gets put in this kind of buried folder.
Ah,
Um,
and that's what
Doc-
you're saying, Sandra, right? Because she installed it, but then it was that missing link you're talking about.
right. So I have
Yeah,
to look it up.
I did try to copy a different path into the Java home variable. So I found a hidden folder somewhere that I got to show up. But even doing that didn't work. So yeah.
All right. Well,
Right.
we're on it.
So
I can show you the type of instructions I followed. Let me see.
Do you want to share your screen?
No, I just want to
Put it in the chat, maybe?
uh
Yeah. And we'll do some research on that to get that fixed so that you've got it
yeah, in the
working.
chat. I looked into that folder, I think. But
Ah,
then there was
I'll,
yeah.
I'll,
I mean, I have,
I found a link. I'll share that in the chat. There's a Medium article that goes over it.
oh, okay. All right, good, good. Because I
thank you.
need to do my laptop also. I hadn't tried it yet, but I didn't have the time to research how to do it because I do want my laptop set up also, my MacBook. All right. So let's
Thank
see.
you.
Yeah, yeah. That's great.
That's
Oh,
that's
go
how
ahead.
you would do it from the command line, but that might not work for Studio. You have to direct Studio to the right location of the JVM.
But Studio, I've got no problem. It's for running the servers that I have issues.
Oh, so that's where you're just going to, from the command line, type Java, the server name. So this will work. This is basically telling you to create aliases for the different JDK versions. So you can call it Java 11, Java 17, Java 8, and then you can you can switch between any of them. They're all available at that point.
Like here. So
Yeah.
it's the Java home. Okay, so it's very much like what we did on the servers in the environment variable of Java underscore home, right? Because do you define it? Yeah, alias, Java home. Yeah, it's very similar to what we have to do on Windows.
You can put a version number on it so you can switch between what you can say what version you want.
Ah, that's cool. Good, good. See, Ethan, we needed you yesterday, but we understood. I knew you were probably, I know you had told me that that was the day you were probably going to be scoping things out. So,
Yeah.
But good, good. Okay, so Sandra, that may get you moving in the right direction.
And if you
Thank
just
you.
look, there's a bunch of other articles about that. It's a really famous problem with Mac OS.
Yeah, I could see a lot of blogs and so on, but I tried a few things and I wasn't successful. So yeah, I'll try your link. It could also be me not being, very familiar with all this. So
Yeah.
I'll give
Likewise.
it a go today.
Likewise, me, Sandra, as well. I understand. That's why I'm like, I really needed to. I did. I bought a Mac not long ago because I've got to keep those skills up in the teaching environment, obviously, because if you don't, you won't remember these kind of things. And it used to be, remember, Ethan, we used to have to do that every time we installed Studio.
Yep.
Now, not so much. Studio has got it embedded, so that's helpful. But for the servers, it was a reminder. Oh yeah, we've got to do all of that. So,
Yeah, I was constantly having to do this.
yeah. In fact, I brought up the old instructions. That's how I was like, I know it's out there somewhere. But those instructions don't have the Mac instructions. So anyway, all right. So what we are doing here is we're going to add a module. Okay. And so if we search, we're going to go ahead and search for capital HTTP. And this will bring in the HTTP connector. Okay. So go ahead and click on the HTTP connector for Mule 4. We're going to click the add and it'll move it over for us. All right. And then we're going to click finish. Okay. Once this is done, notice it brought in the sockets as well. Okay. So we've got our connector in the sockets. We're going to click on apply and close. Now this has brought many times in Studio when you're working and you have to bring in a certain module like the, different modules for JMS or VMQs or Salesforce. And we normally bring that in, with our palette. And once it is brought into the project, then we have to go in and configure the global element for it. So it's in the domain project right now, but it has not been configured. So now we're going to click on create. Okay, click on create. And if you open this up under the connectors, you're going to see the listener. You can always do the search for it, but I like for people to see what is here. So we'll click on the listener. Okay, double click on it, opens it up to where we can put in our configurations. And we're going to go with the default settings here. Okay, port 8081. And we'll click on OK. All right. So once that is done, as we can save it, upper left, go ahead and save it. And if there were other global elements that we needed to add to our domain, this is our domain project, we could add the database, we would have to go to add modules, add the database, create it, configure it. So just like we saw in the slides where we have the different elements that are being used, let's say we wanted to use some of these different elements in a Mule domain, we would have to add the module, because if you go to create, you can see what is here by default. Okay, and by default, like for example, under the connectors, Salesforce is not there, database is not here. You know, we've got some basic global elements. So anything addition to what you see in this master list that's defaulted, we would need to add ourselves by way of the add modules.
And Diane, you don't need to add the HTTP connector if you're just doing a regular Mule app. It's that the domains have less pre-installed, I think.
It wasn't, I don't think it was there at first though.
But earlier on, when you're just doing not the Mule domain, but when you're doing just a regular Mule app.
Oh, correct. Oh,
HTTP
absolutely. Yeah.
is pre-installed.
Correct.
So there's
Correct.
a lot of things that you expect to be there that aren't there for a Mule domain.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Our regular applications, there's some of them defaulted in for sure. Yeah. Okay, so this is kind of a simple example we're going to use. Now, I do want you to come back in and I want you to add some, additional global elements here that you're going to continue to share among your different apps, but where this kind of like a little starting point. So this is good to go as it is. All right, and I'll give you a hint. This actually will be deployed at some point. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and click on, we're going to create two apps, okay? So the first one, we're going to click on File, click on New, Mule Project, okay, Mule Project. And this is going to, we'll do MCIA-app1, okay? MCIA-app1. Okay, and click on finish. Now it's going to open us up to where we are looking at a regular Mule app. And yes, like what Ethan was saying, global elements by default. If we look at this, there's more. There's different things here if it's a Mule app. Is that what you were referring to, Ethan? Is that by default, there are some here?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So let's go back to our message flow. And we're going to go ahead and bring our listener into the flow here. Okay. And then we're going to also add, for the listener path, don't do anything to the global configuration yet. Leave that open. Okay. So for the path, we're going to do /app1. Okay. /app1. And let's go ahead and change our display name also. This is going to be a get /app1. That way at a glance, you'll know what it is, what the path is for that. Okay. Save it. Hold off on that global configuration though. Just hold off a second. We're going to get to that. And then we're going to add a set payload. Let's bring a set payload over. Let's bring a logger over on the set payload. Let's come down and go to literal. And we'll say, hi from app 1. Hello from app 1. Okay. We'll save that. Okay. And then for the logger, well, actually, let's copy our message. That's, remember, when we don't set that function key, it is a literal string. Okay. So we can put that in the display also, so we know what each thing is doing. And then for the logger, let's go to the logger. And this time we will go ahead and switch over to expression mode, and we'll just say payload. Okay, so that is what's going to be logged in our logs our message from our payload. And we'll go ahead and for the display name, let's go ahead and put payload there also and save it. Okay, simple flow, but now we aren't done here yet. Okay, we're not done here yet. What we need to do is we now need to come down. We need to associate this application as a domain project. Okay. As a domain project. So I want you to select the name of the project up here at the top. Select the name, right click on it. And let me make sure I know which way I'm going with this. Mule. Hang on, I got to remember how we do this. It should be properties. Yeah, all the way down. That's right. It's coming back to me. Oh, so, okay, so right click on the application name, come all the way down to properties. All the way down to properties. Okay. And now you're in a special place of the properties for this application. And we want to select the header called Mule Project. Okay, Mule Project. And this is where it will associate with a particular Mule domain. Okay, there's the server, and then we have the domain. It's set to default. Do you remember at various times when we've deployed an app and you'd see deployed, and the first deploy says domain and it says default? Because all of our apps are going to be defaulted to the default domain there. But now we've created a domain. So use the drop down arrow and come down to the MCIA domain we created. Okay. That just changed this application from using the default domain to now pulling from that Mule domain that we created. All right, so click apply. Click apply and apply and close. Well, we could have just clicked apply and close. Okay. And now what we want to do is go back to our listener. Go back to our listener. And notice, ta-da, guess what it found? It already found the global element from the Mule domain. We didn't do that. It found it. Okay. So click on save. Let's go ahead and save it now. And now it has resolved that that is the global element for this project. All right. Everybody good? It's pulling the global element from our Mule domain. Let's create another application now. Come up to File. Also, I want to point out something up here too. Look at the name of our application. When we change that property, notice now that it's labeled as a project domain under our MCIA domain. See how it's labeled that now up here. All right, let's create another one. File, new, Mule project. And this one's going to be MCIA app 2. Okay. MCIA app 2. And go ahead and click finish. All right. Had a question earlier from someone if we are able to copy a flow from one to another. Let's try it. I'm going to copy this flow. I'm going to see if this will work. I don't know if it'll go from project to project. I think I've done it before and I think it does, but I can't swear. So anyway, I wouldn't swear anyway. I don't hardly ever swear. But at any rate, copy the flow, Control C or Command C if you're on a Mac. Click in this. Yeah, I think so too, Sandra. I think I've done this before, but I can't remember for sure. Click in the box of the new flow and then Control V. Ah, it worked. Okay, so it's there. However, this one has not been declared that it is part of the Mule domain yet. We haven't done that configuration. So it's at a loss. Now let's go into, I'm going to go ahead and close. I'll bring it back over here. There we go. Now let's go in and change some things here so that it has the app2 stuff in it. Okay, so first of all, let's click on the listener. And we want the pathway to be app2. Okay. And also in our display name here, app2. Now it thinks it's finding a listener here. It's interesting though, because we've not associated it with the Mule domain. We're going to do that in a minute. Let's go to the set payload and change everything here to set to app2. App2. There we go. And save it. All right, and now we're going to go in and select the name of the project. Okay, app2 project, right click, come all the way down to properties. All the way down to properties. And then here is the domain. We're going to go ahead and switch that over to the MCIA domain. And we're going to click on apply and close. And now it should be happy. Okay, everybody good? All right, now what we need to do is we need to export all of these. Okay, so we're going to export. Let's start with the Mule domain. So we'll go to the Mule domain. There it is. MCIA domain. Right click on the Mule domain. And we're going to come down to export. Okay. And you can export them wherever you want. Mine this time, I have been exporting to my downloads. I think I'm going to change this over to downloads. Okay. So I'm exporting mine to my download folder and click finish. Okay. So it's taking everything in the Mule domain, exporting it as a deployable archive. Because our next step is to go into runtime manager, and we're going to deploy these to the server from runtime manager. So that's why we're exporting each of these. Okay. So the Mule domain is exported. Now let's go to app 1. Okay. Right click on app 1, export, follow through each of the steps along the way. And let me go to downloads. There we go. Into downloads, save. Again, deployable archive. I'm mentioning that a lot because some of you are, I know a couple people are recertifying for MCD1, so or certifying for it. So at any rate, you want to make sure that you have both of those checked. Otherwise, it will not have the modules and dependencies, and therefore you would not be able to use it as a deployable archive. Okay, and click OK. And then we'll go to app 2 and do the same. I'm going to go to my downloads and finish. Okay. All right, so we have three things. And if you look at wherever you exported yours to, you'll have the three ready to go right here, the domain and the two apps. So let's now go to Anypoint Platform. Okay, go into Anypoint Platform, and we have our, go into Runtime Manager. Under Applications, we're going to click on Deploy Application. Okay. Oh, I missed a step. We're not going to do this yet. Hold it. Let me make sure. Yeah. we actually need to put the Mule domain in there a little differently. It is not going to get exported it's not going to be deployed through Runtime Manager. That's right. Okay, so we need to, I'm glad I caught that. We need to go into our server 1. Okay, so let me minimize this. So we do need them exported. That part is good. We do need to have our domain snapshot ready. Okay, but what we want to do is we're going to go into server node 1. Go into server node 1. And remember when let me start at the top. Mule servers, server node 1. And when we go into here, this is the file structure of the server, right? So the first thing we're going to look at is the apps directory. Go into the apps directory. Now, this is where your apps will reside when they are deployed. Okay. So go up 1 level again. So that's where apps will be. And then we're going to come down to the domains folder. Okay. In the domains folder. Now, this is where we're going to copy the snapshot and we're going to paste it in our domain folder here. Okay. Now it does seem to think that we have our server running, but there's no, yeah, we'll check this out and see. We'll go ahead and grab your snapshot and paste it in your domain folder. Okay. It says you should see something occur on that server, but I'm going to hesitate on that one for a second. I don't know if it would show right away, but we could go ahead and let's run that server. So let's go ahead and go to the bin folder because we stopped it. We stopped it. Let's run this. Okay. So bring this up, type in Mule, and let's see if it catches our new domain. Okay, it should. We should see our new domain that we just put in there. That's where we should see it. Initializing a domain. Oh, I see some stuff happening there. Check that out. MCIA domain, initializing. That's a good sign. Deployed. Yep, it's there. Okay, so that tells us that we've got 2 domains in there right now. The default domain and our Mule domain, the MCIA domain, right? Did yours work? Anyone doing hands-on? Awesome. Okay, good. Anyone else doing hands-on? Perfect. Good, Jakes. Good. Okay, good, RJ. Excellent. Raj, cool. Very good. Okay, so it did deploy. That's good. Now we're going to leave our server up because now we need to go to Runtime Manager and we're going to deploy our applications. Okay. So into Runtime Manager. And yeah, that's dev 2. Okay, that's node 2. All right, we're going to deploy our application. And go ahead and select for the target your hybrid server 1. This is all going to server 1. And we're going to do MCIA-app1. Okay. And again, notice that it doesn't, we're all typing in the same name. It does not have to be a unique name. If we were deploying to Cloud Hub, it would, but because we're deploying it to our server, it can't conflict with anything on the server. So that part is good. All right, let's choose the file over here on the right. Upload the file. And we're doing app 1. So choose the app 1 jar file export. Click open and deploy. Okay, so it is deploying and we can check out our server. We should start to see it deploying our app. Oh, it's already started. Look, wow, that was fast. The website is slower. Yeah, there's a notice up here that says there's a delay in updating applications, probably status, because it's already started and running. Very good. Okay, let's do 2. So we can see it there, right there on our in our console or our command prompt here, we can see that the application has started. Let's go ahead and bring up the next one. Go to your server, hybrid. And this one's going to be the MCIA-app2. Choose the file, upload file, 2, and open. Okay, and then deploy. All right. Very good, very good. We'll check out our console, see if our next one has already deployed, and it has. So let's go to Advanced REST Client now. And now we're going to send in the request. Now, up until now, we were using the same port for node 2, which is why node 2 is not running right now, or we would have a conflict. But now we're going to go ahead and put in here app 1. Right? Or did we, wait, our listener is something different, isn't it? Let me check. Hold on. I think it is. Nope, app 1. Okay. I want to make sure I didn't add anything different there. App 1 and then app 2. So let's run our app 1. Hello from app 1. Let's change it over to app 2. Hello from app 2. We have 2 apps using one global element. Okay. Using the same global element. Now, we're not seeing the logs in this console. Where are the logs on a server? Where can I see my logs? We should see what the payload values were.
Runtime manager or monitoring.
All right, let's look. Runtime manager monitoring. If I click on that app,
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any logs.
Hmm.
Where are the logs on a server?
The last tab logging.
Say it again.
There's a last tab logging there.
This is, okay, this logging tab, that's for us to request different log levels.
Okay.
The logs are in the actual server. .mule log.
Oh, okay. Guide me. Where am I going to go, Elias?
You need to go to your folder where you have the server installed.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Sandra's on it too. Yeah.
.mule, I think.
.mule. Okay.
Oh no, sorry. Okay, if it's for the app, then it should be inside the app, right?
Uh-huh.
So for this one is the app that we have with the domain.
In this one? Let me minimize this so you can see the screen better. Okay, tell me where to go here. There, by the way, there's the object store and transactions, FYI, that we're going to be messing around with later in this whole process. So there's our object store stuff and our transaction things. Where are the logs?
You need to go back up 2 levels to the runtime. There's a
Okay.
logs folder.
Up 2 levels. And where?
The logs folder.
Ah. All right. Where now?
Guess you have to go into the domain folder.
Domain.
I clicked on the, if you go back one, I clicked on that top one there. I'm looking at a log in
Okay.
Notepad.
Okay. App 1.
Is that what we're looking for? Yeah, in app 1.
Yep. All right. Good deal. Where are we looking for our payload value? Boom, right there. Yep. So that's where our logs are on our servers. Good, RJ. Good job. And this is where we can see the application logs are here. Okay. So per application, here is our app 2. We can go into this one and look for our logger. Hello from app 2. Okay. And so each of these are the application logs. Where am I going to find the runtime logs? Which one's going to show me the Mule runtime? All that good stuff. Where's that at?
The underscore EE and underscore agent.
There we go. Yep, there's your Mule runtime. Now we see some of that here also. If you scroll back, you would see some of that here, but this is where the logs are generated. Great. Good job, Jakes. Yep, exactly. Is here. And then the Mule agent also has some logs as well. Okay. Very good. All right, so we can see we have our Mule domain is up and running. So essentially what we have created is the scenario here where our HTTP listener, now we are going to add more to this global element, to the global elements in the Mule domain. Because as we continue building this out, yes, it's a baby application right now, but we're going to come back in here and we're going to use this so that when we're talking about state and we're talking about, remember on our slides, you know, for our course, we had, what does the object store do when it's set to persistent, when it's set to transient, when it's in Cloud Hub, when it's on-prem, when it's in a domain. We have all these different options to consider, and now you're set up so far. You're set up so far to see the behavior of these global elements in a Mule domain. So exam relevance is where, first of all, you perhaps could see the question come through, you know, where can you set up a Mule domain? So you know that it's only on customer hosted servers. Secondly, how does it work? You know, we now can see that we've got multiple applications here that are using the same global elements. They're totally different applications. So when we add to that global or to our domain and we come in here and we add an object store that's persistent. And how does that play out in a Mule domain with a shared resource like that? Okay, so there's a couple of things we're going to see in the behavior as we go forward. I'm creating a master project that's going to have the VM queues. Well, it already has some of them. I need to add. So we're going to look at going forward. Probably it may be ready by tomorrow. And that way we can import that application and create another, you know, a secondary application that kind of, you know, shares the same resources. And we're going to use VM queues. We won't be able to use Anypoint MQ because I know you all don't have that in your accounts. I could probably demo it, but object store also. Okay, and we'll look at state and what is available when for those activities. Okay, and obviously we can see on the servers, you know, that these items are actually in, you know, available in a file structure in the apps on the server. In this case, customer hosted. There's the object store. There's the queues. Okay. So we'll get into that. That'll be tomorrow. Not ready to do it today. Have been troubleshooting some other things anyway. So what we'll do next is we'll take a look at making I want you to make the additional, we're going to connect the additional servers. So we're going to transition now. Let me go ahead and minimize these for right now. And we can leave server 1 running. But what I want you to do now is to go ahead and go to your server folder. And we have 2 production servers as well. Because ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to, in the production servers, we're going to do some clustering. We're not going to group them, we'll cluster them, okay? Because we talked about that also in the behavior of the servers of what is shared in a cluster. We're not going to cluster node 1 and 2, but we will, of dev, but we'll cluster the production, okay? So let's go ahead and do that now. We've got some time to do that, and it shouldn't take too long. That should be where I can go through a quick demo on AI and where it appears in Mule, how MuleSoft is using AI in a couple of different areas. So, all right, so let's go to, if you don't have your production servers here, we did this yesterday. So all we did is copy one of the folders here and rename it prod. Okay, nothing else is different on these other than that. So let's go ahead and if you haven't done that, do it real quick, rename it prod. We'll go ahead and go into the production server at the bin location and type in CMD. Type in Mule, hit enter. We'll go ahead and spin it up, make sure it's running. Okay. And notice that when it pauses on that valid license key, okay, you see your expiration date, February 14th. So when this expires on February 14th, it will, well, after February 14th, probably on the 15th, it will stop right there. It'll fail. So what you can do so you don't lose everything happening on your server is download a new standalone server and copy that license key into the license key folder. Or I should say it's actually in the config folder. We talked about this in class, but there it is right there. That's the one you want to copy and paste it over into this folder. It'll replace it with the new another month. So you can month to month keep renewing that. All right. So the first one came up, no trouble. Okay, so there's our production server. Let's go ahead and do the same for node number 2 in production. Okay. And there goes server number 2. Because what we're going to ultimately be doing next week is we're going to promote an application from dev to production. Okay. So we'll see how that works when we are taking an application from one environment server to promote it to production. We might even use Maven to do that. We'll see. All right. So both servers are up and running. That is good. Life is good. Let's go ahead and stop them both, but leave the windows open. So Control C to stop them. All right, stop both of them. All right, now how do I connect them to Anypoint platform? Who wants to walk me through? Who wants to drive? How do we, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was multitasking. You're asking how to connect it to Anypoint platform?
Right. Tell me what to do.
Yeah, go to Anypoint platform.
All right.
Servers.
Okay.
Add server.
Okay. Am I in the right place though? Remember, I want to do production.
Oh, no. Go to change the dev to prod on the left.
Awesome. Very good. Yep. Go change. If you did not create a prod environment, please do. Doesn't take but a second. Okay. You need to go to access management into this business group and add another environment. You'll have to use Sandbox if you're using your trial account. So, yep. Okay, good. So I'm switching over to prod. Okay. Now what do I do?
Servers,
Okay.
add server,
Okay.
copy, add a name for the server and copy what's below. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Prod. What do we call the other ones? Hang on a minute. I'm so picky about naming conventions. Hold on. Let me jump back and see what the others are called. So we keep continuity, right?
Mhm.
All right. Servers. Oh, okay. Just server node 1. Okay. Let me go back to prod. And servers. Okay. So I'm adding a server. So now I want to name it, right?
Hyphen dash server node 1.
Okay.
Yeah, copy the command or
Okay.
yeah, either paste it in a notepad and remove the dot slash.
Oh my gosh, you're going to take my job from me. It's awesome. I should have used that notepad. I need to add a notepad to this. Okay, so here I'll paste it in here. Now what do I do?
Remove the dot slash unless you're
Okay.
using Mac or Linux.
Good job. Good job.
Copy that.
Okay.
And open the command
Okay.
where you had the bin folder. Run.
All right. Go back to here. Let me make sure I'm in the right server. No, that's the other server. Oh, I got too many server windows open. Hold on. Okay, it's this one. Yeah, server node 1. Okay, paste it here. Yeah.
Paste it there.
And what is this? What did I just do? What is that?
You actually associated a server with the business group name that was part of your Mule Anypoint platform. So it can communicate with the control plane.
Okay, good. What does that? What feature does that? What is it called? I'm looking for a certain name of it.
Auto discovery
No, close though. Auto discovery is a
or API manager and
yeah. But what's right there?
registering
What's this right here? Look at this name.
Mule agent.
Yes, that Mule agent. Because when you sit for the exam, you're likely going to have questions like that you want to make sure that you know what they're talking about. So we just installed that Mule agent right there. Right? We just installed the Mule agent. Now it is connected. Well, in the case of the prod, we did prod. So we just did prod for node 1. We just did that. So that is the Mule agent that just got installed. Good. Now let's go back to Anypoint platform. We can close that. And now it's created. But why isn't it running? What needs to happen next?
You need to run the Mule command.
Right.
Sorry.
Run that server, right? Okay, so now if we type in Mule, okay, now we will see this change over to a running status. Right? And we can get statistics on these servers. We will see, any behavior. We can also set an alert, right? We can set an alert. So there is the domain of the server. We can see it's a default domain. Ours, on the other hand, when we had the Mule domain, it had the default and the new domain, right? So there's the default domain. All right, let's add another one. Let's go ahead back in, add server. And this one is prod server node 2. Copy in the command. We'll change this out. If you're on a Mac, use the whole thing. If you're on Windows, just use take off those the 2 characters. Oops, nope. I did that wrong. Hold on. There we go. And now we'll put that in on our other server, server node 2. Production server 2, there we go. Half of the fun is navigating where you need to be, right? Go ahead and run that. And again, you see the Mule agent. Okay, now we want to run it, Mule. And now it's launching it. We should see both of them activated here. And once that comes up, we'll create a cluster. There we go. Oh, that's the domain. There we go. Okay, so both are up and running. Everybody good? Green check if yours are up and running. Okay. Good, good. And now we're going to cluster them. Now you can create a group. So let's go to Runtime Manager. You can create a group. That's just going to be essentially for managing them. It's not going to really be part of like a clustered or shared, memory grid or anything like that. So let's go back. We're not going to use the group. If you want to do that later, you can. We're going to create a cluster. Okay. Click on Create Cluster. We'll go with unicast. That's fine. We'll come down and choose each of the servers. Okay. Let's go with multicast. I think it'll be easier to work with. Yeah. No, it's still not letting us do it. Why? Is that not letting us? Oh, well, maybe because we need to name it. Prod cluster. Otherwise, if we unicast, we've got to define the IP addresses, and we're not going to go. We'll go with multicast. Okay. Only letters and numbers. Okay, no spaces. No spaces allowed on the cluster name, FYI. Letters, numbers, or dashes. Are you telling me it must be? Oh, there's a space there still. Okay. Still doesn't like it. Let me try lowercase. See if it's going to like that. Okay. So no, I don't know. It probably would have taken capital letters. I went with prod server cluster. Choose your servers. Now notice down here, your servers will be restarted and agent plugin configuration will be overwritten when the cluster is created. So let's create the cluster. Create the cluster. Okay. And now you have your cluster. Let's see if it is redeploying. Yep, they're reinitializing. Both of these servers are reinitializing. There's our Mule runtimes. And cluster mode is now enabled. Before we saw that, if you noticed, it was disabled. Now they are running in cluster mode. Mule is up and kicking. All right, so both are deployed. Now we should be seeing primary. There's our star. Yep. Who is it that said that you'd see a star on the one that's the primary? Who said that? Jake's?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because we run on a customer hosted, so we have a domain.
You're familiar with it, yeah. So what he's talking about is see the star inside the running mode on server 1. That means it's the primary. So let's go shut down server node 1. Okay, let's go shut it down. Where's 2? Come on, there we go. Okay, So let's click in server node 1. This should be node 1. It's running in a cluster. Okay, Control C. Shutting down. Watch the runtime manager. Look, there it goes. It already, look how it moved it to node 2. That's the primary now. And remember how that behaves is it's auto done. Let's run this again. If we just say no, terminate batch job, I wonder if it's going to come back up. No, it shut it down. Let's go Mule and get that server up and running again. But node 2 is going to stay the primary. Okay, so that management of that primary is going to be handled by the mechanism within the agent. I guess it's within the agent. I don't know. Ethan, what is actually managing that primary assignment? Do you know?
You're saying what makes a server primary?
No, like when one goes down, what's actually managing the assignment of the primary? Is it the Mule agent that's probably doing that? Do you know?
Yes.
Yeah, I would think
It's
so.
through the Mule agent plugin.
Yeah. So if y'all wanted to add another server to that, you could see 3 of them, 2 of them up and running. How it works. Go ahead.
Yeah, one thing about that is it's not controlled by the control plane.
Oh,
Right.
that's interesting.
Choice
So
of who's primary. So if the control plane was down, if you have servers running in cluster mode, the definition of the cluster is being set up by Hazelcast, so that's all the Hazelcast software, I believe, that's doing that.
I wonder if we see Hazelcast listed in here now that it is
Like that. The cluster will come online even if the control plane's not available.
yeah, because it's running independently of the control plane. The control
You can
plane
definitely see the control messages in there. If you kind of dig through, we used to do that. We used to have people look at those messages. It'll declare when it's going down, when the other one's becoming primary. There's a whole bunch of between the node communication that shows up in the logs there.
Okay. Yeah, if you even look at server 2s, you see the COM Hazelcast internal server. It has some errors though. Error count is 5. Wonder why it was getting errors. But yeah, you can see.
See, like it's on port 5701. Like they're each using the different ports that you set up.
Yeah. And I wonder if we go up a little bit, you might actually see where, well, that's all of the logs after it had deployed or ran. So
I think there's a log level you need to set to see those messages. I think they don't all show up maybe by default.
yeah. Okay. So there you go, folks. This is going to conclude really what we're doing with the servers for now. I wanted to get the prod one set up so that you can see some of this behavior. We did talk about that, and I'm sure that there are some questions centered around clustering and your servers and primary, because we had some of those conversations already. But anyway, that concludes our mission here on this.